Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know, sometimes the lessons that really hit home, the ones that stick with you, they don't come from books. They often come from, well, unexpected places. Moments that make your heart race, or maybe even those thoughts that just keep you up at night.
Absolutely. And real stories, actual accounts from people, they have this unique way of showing you just how thin that line is between, say, curiosity and real danger.
Exactly, when something that seems harmless just isn't.
Yeah.
And that's right where we're headed today. We're doing a deep dive into something that usually starts as just kids being kids, you know, ding dong ditch.
A classic prank.
Right. But these stories, they're different. We've gathered some really chilling real life accounts where this game, this simple prank, it spiraled into something genuinely terrifying.
It's fascinating and scary how that can happen.
It is. So our mission today really is to look at these stories and see what they tell us about people, about risk, and maybe about the dangers that sometimes are literally right outside our front door. Let's get into it. All right, so this first story, it kicks off with a group of friends. One of them, Stefan, lived near this house that he just described as sketchy.
Sketchy how?
Well, ding-dong ditching was kind of their standard thing when they got bored. Then these new people move in across from Stefan's place. And right away, Stefan got this weird vibe. Like, nobody ever saw them leave the house. The blinds were always down, no lights on inside, ever. But there was always this red Toyota pickup in the driveway. Always.
Constant but unseen. That's inherently unnerving.
Totally. Stefan just felt it was off. So naturally, being kids, they thought, okay, that's the house we hit next.
And it's interesting, isn't it, how kids sometimes pick up on that unease, that wrongness, before adults might even notice, like a gut feeling.
Yeah, that instinct. So the narrator and another friend, Jake, they hide behind a car. Stefan's the one who runs up to the door.
The brave one.
Right. He rings the bell like 5 times. They said they were kind of nervously laughing, thinking it was funny at first. Then Stefan ducks into a bush nearby. They wait. Nothing. Door stays closed. Dead quiet. So Stefan, maybe feeling a bit bold, goes back, rings it again. This time, maybe 10 more times. A lot.
Okay, he's really pushing it now.
Yeah. And as he's heading back to the bush, the narrator sees it. The curtains in a front window, they just move slightly.
Oh, wow. Someone's definitely home.
Exactly. No face, just that little twitch. But it confirms someone was inside, watching. And the narrator and Jake, they were just frozen. Too scared to yell at Stefan to stop, or even wave him off.
That's the turning point, isn't it? The moment it stops being a game and starts feeling like you're being watched, stalked almost.
And that feeling ramps up fast. Stefan waits maybe 30 seconds, then goes for the door one more time. But the narrator says before Stefan even touches the doorbell this time, the door yanks open.
Yanks open.
Yeah, pulled open from inside. All they saw was an arm shoot out from the dark interior and grab Stefan.
Oh.
Stefan lets out this like high-pitched scream. Terrified. Somehow he twists free. He just keeps screaming, bolts past his friends, runs across the street straight into his own house.
Did the person chase him?
No, that's the other creepy part. The arm just retreated and the door slammed shut. Nobody came out.
That quick grab and retreat, it's not just annoyance, it feels calculated, aggressive.
Definitely. So they all rush into Stefan's house. The narrator immediately goes, dude, bad idea. Now they know where you live. But Stefan wasn't really listening. He goes and tells his parents.
How did they react?
Mad at first,
Yeah.
you know, about the prank itself. But when Stefan described how the guy physically tried to pull him inside, they got worried, really concerned.
But they didn't go over.
No, probably because, well, their kid had been ding-dong ditching.
Yeah.
Bit awkward. So Jake went home, but the narrator stayed over at Stefan's place. They decided to hang out in the backyard for a bit, maybe play some games, try to calm down, talk about what just happened.
It's understandable the parents were hesitant, but it does leave the kids feeling vulnerable, doesn't it? Their fear was real.
Totally. And Stefan's telling the narrator he didn't really see the guy's face clearly because he was kind of hidden behind the door. But he knew it was a man. The beanie, the hands, just the strength of the grip when he grabbed his shirt collar.
Okay.
While they're out there in the yard, the narrator remembers hearing this distinct thump sound. Just a single thump. But they kind of brush it off, didn't even mention it to Stefan.
Easy to dismiss something like that in the moment.
Right. Until later. They eventually go back inside because it's getting cold. And the second they step inside, they notice it's way colder inside the house than when they left.
Uh-oh.
And the Stefan sees why immediately. The sliding glass door in the dining room, it's open, wide open. cold air just pouring in, and his parents would never have left it like that.
Okay, this is escalating. Seriously escalating. The audacity to go from the front door to actually entering the house?
It's terrifying. And then they hear it, a noise upstairs. Like a footstep or maybe something soft falling on the carpet coming from Stefan's bedroom.
No!
That's when Stefan just screams for his parents. The house layout was open, so they heard him instantly and came running out, totally confused and worried.
I can't even imagine.
Stefan and the narrator are pointing at the open sliding door downstairs, yelling, "Someone's in his room, upstairs!" Stefan's dad. He didn't even pause. Runs downstairs, grabs the biggest knife they have from the kitchen block, and just charges back upstairs.
Wow. Okay. Adrenaline kicking in.
For sure. The narrator, Stefan and his mom, huddle together downstairs, just terrified. Stefan's mom is holding them, calling 911. Then they hear Stefan's dad scream.
Oh, God. Was he hurt?
It wasn't that kind of scream. Not pain or fear. It was rage. Pure anger. Then silence until the police got there. The cops go upstairs to Stefan's room.
And the connection is clear now, the open window, the noise. It all links back to the front door incident. This wasn't random.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And just like they thought, the entry point was that dining room window. Stefan's dad told them later he'd gone into the room, heard something coming from the closet.
The closet.
He opened the door and someone lunged out at him.
Yeah.
But his dad reacted, managed to stab the intruder.
Good Lord.
A few minutes later, once things calmed down slightly, they realized who it was.
The neighbor.
The neighbor from across the street.
Yeah.
Stefan knew him instantly, recognized his white sneakers, even saw scabs on the guy's hand he'd noticed before. Said the guy looked just as scary as they'd imagined.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. They got a restraining order, of course, but, I mean, who could live across from that? They moved. Found another house in the same town, but they got out of there within a few months. Just horrific. Okay, let's shift gears to the next story. This one is equally chilling, maybe even more so because of how fast it turns life-threatening.
Right, the speed of escalation is often what's most shocking.
Exactly. So this involves the narrator and their friends. Again, names are C, B, E, and Ben. Another Friday night, another round of Ding Dong Ditch. They pick this corner house in a cul-de-sac.
Okay, setting the scene.
The narrator does the first run, rings the bell, sprints maybe 3 houses down, hides behind a car, but keeps watching the house.
Standard procedure for them, it sounds like.
Pretty much. The guy comes out, looks around. The narrator thinks he spots one of them, maybe Ben, because he yells out, "Hey!" They all scatter, laughing it off like before.
Annoyed, but not dangerous yet.
Not yet. But then, and the narrator says this themselves, like a bunch of idiots,
Yeah.
they decide to hit the exact same house again.
Oh, come on.
Teenage logic, I guess.
Yeah.
They argue about who goes, and Ben gets picked for round 2. All right, Ben's turn. So Ben runs up, knocks or rings, and bolts. C, B, and E are waiting on the corner. The narrator and another friend are across the street behind that same car. And this time, it's instant.
How so?
Like, the guy must have been right there, waiting by the door. Because maybe 5 seconds after Ben rings, the door flies open, and the man comes sprinting out.
Sprinting. Okay, that's different.
He gets to the end of his driveway and just starts screaming, "Hey, come here now." That's the narrator's signal to run. They take off, full speed, down to the corner around the block.
Getting away fast.
They keep running, eventually catch up with Ben, C, and B. They've gone almost a full block, adrenaline pumping, trying to figure out what just happened. When it hits them,
What?
someone asks, "Where's E?" He's not with them.
Oh, no. Left behind.
Yeah. Panic starts setting in. They whip out a phone, call E. He picks up, totally out of breath. He tells them, "Get back here. Go back to the house. He's chasing me."
Chasing him. Oh, man.
So they start heading back, still on the phone with E, trying to figure out where he is. And then E just drops it, the bomb. He says the man had a gun.
A gun. Okay, everything changes now. That's not just chasing. That's a deadly threat.
Completely. E heard the man screaming it while chasing him. "I'm gonna blow your flippin' brains out."
Jesus.
The narrator admits they just started tearing up right there on the street, terrified for E. They keep talking to E on the phone for maybe 5 minutes, trying to guide him back, figure out where he is. They finally meet up in someone's backyard. E makes it back.
Thank God.
Yeah, they all just grabbed him, hugged him, total relief washing over them. Later, they're all in E's backyard trying to piece it together. And the first thing E says is, "I got it on video."
He filmed it while being chased.
Apparently. He shows them the phone footage. You can hear the man screaming, "Hey, come here now, come here." Super clear.
Wow.
And E explains what happened. When the narrator took off running from behind the car, the man actually started chasing the narrator first.
Oh, okay.
But E ran the opposite way. So the man had this split-second choice, like, who do I chase?
A pickle, as E put it.
Exactly. And he chose E. He sprinted down the street almost the whole way before he ducked under a parked car and hid there until the coast was clear.
Smart move. Quick thinking under pressure.
Absolutely. The narrator just kept saying it was the craziest night ever, and they were just so thankful E was okay.
Yeah.
Having a gun pulled on you during Ding Dong Ditch? Unthinkable.
Oh.
Okay, let's move to our third story. This one has a different feel. It's less about immediate physical violence and more about psychological creepiness. Deeply unsettling.
Sometimes those are the ones that stick with you the most, the psychological ones. The silence, the weird behavior.
Exactly. This narrator describes themselves as being pretty sheltered as a kid, didn't really get into trouble much until later, but they had this cousin, Rob, who was, in their words, infinitely cooler.
Ah, the cool cousin always leads you into something.
Right. So one night, Rob calls, says, let's go ding-dong ditching. The narrator grabs a flashlight because their old neighborhood was dark, not many streetlights. Rob shows up with 2 walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies. Okay, this is getting organized.
Yeah, a bit more planned out. The houses there were pretty far apart, lots of space between them. Rob leads them through some woods, cutting onto someone's property. It's dark, just one little lamp on the walkway, the house itself. Pitch black, no lights inside or out.
Already feels isolated and a bit eerie.
Definitely. And Rob has a plan. He wants to make the homeowner run back and forth. So Rob will ring the front doorbell, and the narrator waits in the back to ring the back doorbell.
Like a coordinated maneuver?
Kinda. Rob tests the walkie-talkies. They work. The narrator's waiting in the backyard says it was extremely dark and quiet, and admits they were pretty scared already.
I would be too, standing alone in a dark backyard.
Rob rings the front bell several times, then gives the narrator the signal over the walkie-talkie. Narrator runs up, rings the back bell twice, then runs and hides behind a bush, heart pounding.
Waiting for a reaction.
Yeah, they're listening. Rob comes over the walkie, negative from the front. Narrator replies, same here in the back. Nothing happened.
Okay, maybe no one's home. Or just ignoring it.
That's what they might have thought. After a minute or so, Rob tells the narrator, go check the back door again, see anything.
All right, reconnaissance.
The narrator creeps up to this big back window. Peering inside, they can just make out something tall. Right in front of the window, they assumed it was furniture. And off in a corner of the room, a little red flashing light, like on a smoke detector or something. That's it.
Vague shapes in the dark.
Exactly. So Rob decides to try again. Rings the front bell multiple times. The narrator hears it from the backyard, then runs up and rings the back bell a couple more times, noting it as a different chime sound. Then back to the bush.
Round 2.
They wait. Rob radios. Still nothing here. Narrator agrees. Nothing back here either. But then the narrator adds, wait, I think I see something small moving inside, near the window.
Okay, now it's getting interesting. Movement.
The narrator whispers this to Rob, who says, use your flashlight. See what it is. Trying to be brave, the narrator gets closer to the window, shines the flashlight beam inside.
The reveal.
And it's not furniture, that tall object. It was, quote, some creepy-looking smiling man, just standing there, smiling.
Ah, that's chilling. Just standing there, smiling.
And the something small they saw moving, it was his hand. He was waving at them.
Waving. That's somehow worse than yelling. Calculatedly creepy.
Totally. Then the man turns away from the window, moving, as the narrator describes it, unsettlingly quick. He goes straight to the back door, opens it, and starts coming towards the narrator.
Oh, God. Coming outside.
Yes, but not running. He's doing this horrific speed walking kind of pace, just unnaturally fast walking. And as he's coming towards them, he says, come inside.
Come inside? Nope, absolutely not.
Narrator just drops the walkie-talkie, screams and runs, bolts towards the front of the house to find Rob. Rob sees them running, then sees the man coming up fast behind them from the back, still doing that creepy speed walk.
Still speed walking, not running, just fast walking.
Yeah. And Rob said the worst part was, after that initial come inside, the man didn't say anything else, just silently, quickly speed walking towards them in the dark.
Pure nightmare fuel. That silence is terrifying.
They both just sprinted. Ran all the way back to Rob's house. Their parents were asleep. They head down to the basement to catch their breath, heart still pounding.
Safe, hopefully.
They thought so. Until the walkie-talkie they dropped beeped.
He picked it up.
He must have. Because then they hear breathing over the speaker. And then this old man's voice whispers,
What did it say?
where are you kids? I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to give you your walkie-talkie.
Oh my God. That is horrifying. He knows they can hear him.
And the narrator said that was the scariest part. The fact the signal reached them deep inside a basement meant he had to be close. Really close. Still looking for them.
He's actively hunting them, using their own toy against them.
They just immediately turned off the walkie-talkie, shut off all the lights down there. The narrator was adamant this wasn't some nice old man. His whole vibe, the chase, that look, it screamed child predator. They knew even then they were incredibly lucky they got away.
And they never told their parents.
No. Said they were too scared of getting grounded forever. But yeah, lucky is an understatement.
Wow. These stories, they really show a pattern, don't they? There are some common threads here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
Well, first, there's that clear escalation trigger.
Yeah.
Every single time it starts as just a prank, maybe annoying, but then something snaps and it becomes violent or predatory instantly.
Right. The jump from mischief to genuine danger.
Then there's what I'd call the anonymity paradox. The kids think they're anonymous pranksters, hidden. But the moment that door opens unexpectedly, they become the vulnerable ones, exposed to whoever is on the other side. Their anonymity vanishes.
Yeah, the tables turn completely.
And third, the predator's persistence. These people didn't just get annoyed and yell. They grabbed, they chased with weapons, they invaded homes, they used psychological tactics like the walkie-talkie. It wasn't just a reaction, it was a determined pursuit.
That's a really chilling point. They didn't give up easily.
Exactly. And finally, you see the vulnerability of youth. These kids, even the ones acting bold, were ultimately out of their depth. They couldn't anticipate the level of danger or the, frankly, unhinged reactions they encountered.
They stumbled into situations way beyond their control.
Precisely. These aren't just scary stories. They're like warnings embedded in real experience.
So, thinking about all this,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway for you listening? I think these accounts really drive home how even small actions, things that feel like no big deal, can have these huge, terrifying ripples if you cross paths with the wrong person.
The unpredictable element.
Yeah, that idea of the unknown neighbor stops being abstract. It becomes this potential, very real threat. It really underscores the need to, trust your gut. Pay attention to those little red flags.
Yeah.
Because things aren't always what they seem.
Critical thinking, observation, even in seemingly mundane situations.
We've definitely gone through some intense accounts today, peeling back the layers on this seemingly innocent childhood game. It forces you to think about that razor's edge between adventure and real danger.
A very fine line.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would you do if that moment of just pushing boundaries, that silly prank, suddenly morphed into a genuine horror scenario right in front of you? It's a thought that definitely sticks with you long after you imagine that doorbell sound fading away.
And it highlights that idea that knowledge or awareness is only truly useful when you internalize it, when you apply it. These stories offer a pretty stark lesson in that, I think.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you for joining us for this pretty unsettling deep dive today. Remember to stay curious, stay aware, and maybe think twice about what or who might be waiting just beyond the threshold.
Indeed. Farewell for now.
See you next time.